Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be looking at a video. I've been meaning to get around to this video for the past 2 weeks, I think it is, but I kept forgetting about it. We're going to be looking at Slipknot. Now, I've only ever actually covered Slipknot once before on this channel, and that was when they released All Out Life, which was a single they released just before the We Are Not Your Kind album. But wasn't actually on the album for some reason. Weird. But anyway, about a week or two ago, they released a new track called Chapeltown Rag. And I saw this come up on YouTube. I was like, oh, I want to have a look at that. And I thought, I'll do a reaction video to it. But somehow I kept forgetting about it. So I'm finally getting around to it now. So I am very late to the party with this track. I don't know why I kept forgetting about it. It's just other things just sort of kept cropping up, and I completely forgot about it. Now, obviously, I do really enjoy Slipknot's music. I think they're a great band. I don't know what this is going to be like, because, in my opinion, We Are Not Your Kind was not a great album. When you compare it to things like the Grey Chapter, you compare it to things like Iowa and All Hope Is Gone. I don't think it was their strongest album. So if this follows on from the style of music they did on We Are Not Your Kind, I don't know. But anyway, like I said, I enjoy Slipknot's music. So we'll jump into this track and see what we've got. I do have lyrics here. They come from underneath the video on YouTube, so they should, in theory, be accurate. So we'll jump into it, see what we've got. So, Chapeltown Rag by Slipknot.
Read all about it if you want to know. Read all about what they want you to know. Everything is gone online, and if this evil is a diss, this is no fucking trick. Either follow or abandon. Get infected by a vertical event. Check the meter, check your what. Are they ever gonna stop? Running out of daylight, night time's better, but we know how to handle the truth, motherfucker. Scandalous, know-it-all feedback chamber. Nobody wants the proof, they want a number. Way down, yeah.
Well, there we go. Chapeltown Rag by Slipknot. That is not what I expected at all. That was insanely heavy. It reminded me a lot of like the first proper Slipknot album that, not Make Feed Kill Repeat, which is technically the first Slipknot album. They've demoted that now to not be an actual album. So the first actual album, this reminded me a lot of it. It was fast, it was heavy, it was insane. The only thing that sort of pulls it out of that is when they get to the chorus and Corey does the cleaner vocals, which didn't really feature as such in the earlier albums. So yeah, that was very unexpected, especially after the We Are Not Your Kind album, which, it's not a bad album, but it's far from their best. Although people kept hailing it as like their magnum opus, and I vehemently disagree with that. Had a few good tracks in it, but it's far from their best work. But anyway, that's not the point. Yeah, that was not what I was expecting at all. That was brutal, that was fast, that was heavy, and then it came in with that clean chorus, which kind of threw things a little bit. But even just the intro to the song, before they even started singing, there was that sort of weird noise at the beginning of the video. It reminded me very much of, it actually reminded me a lot of the opening of the first Slipknot album. Now, the actual song is Chapeltown Rag. I'm not sure what the name's supposed to mean. I mean, a Chapeltown Rag, a rag sort of used to refer to the type of song, didn't it? What Chapeltown is, I don't know. But it seems to be talking about the way media and news outlets or whatnot sort of try to control you with what they tell you. They'll only tell you a certain amount of things. They'll keep things away from you. They'll only tell you what they want you to know. They won't tell you the important stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Kind of like the way, say, for example, a government will be doing something that's really dodgy and underhanded. They'll put something else out into the media to distract from what they're actually doing. That sort of thing. That's what it seems to be from when I read the lyrics. I could be incredibly wrong. Now, the actual lyrics go, read all about it if you want to know. Read all about what they want you to know. So, those opening lines pretty much sum up everything I just said. Read all about it. Read all about what they want you to know. Not what you want to know, what they want you to know. Everything is God online. Now, many people get their information from online sources these days. All these people, like, throughout the recent pandemic and stuff, that have been saying they've been doing their research about why vaccines are bad. They're reading some bullshit that's been written by some idiot who can't tell his ass from his elbow, but they're taking it as fact. They believe that they know more about, plagues, pandemics, and vaccinations than people who have dedicated their entire lives to studying this. And because they've done a 5-minute piece of research on the internet, they think that they know better. And that's the way it is these days. Everybody, when people read a piece of information, they always seem to take it immediately as gospel. Nobody seems to question anything anymore. Nobody asks for, what are your sources? What studies did you partake in to actually get this information, these results? Or did you just hear it off your next door neighbour's brother's cat's best friend's, personal chef? What everybody reads something online and they immediately take it as gospel, and that to them is the truth. It's very common. So yeah, it says here, everything is God online, and it's as evil as it gets. This is not another trick. Either follow or repent. No choice. Get infected by a vertical event. Check the meter, check the watch. Are they ever gonna stop? Running out of daylight, night time's better, but we know how to handle the truth, motherfucker. Scandalous know-it-all. Feedback chamber. Nobody wants the proof, they want a number. We won't deny what is wrong with our lives. We can't decide what is left of our right to silence our remains. Buried in the back, and I'm sick and alive, hollow as a breath the further you dive. Now, there was a specific line in there that spoke volumes of truth in just one line. Nobody wants the proof, they want a number. Nobody's interested in proof. Like, you can show someone, you can say something to someone that goes, it'll probably go against what they believe. Someone will say something, you'll say, no, that's not actually true, this is the fact. And the moment you try and show them proof or evidence of the fact, they will refuse to see it. They're not interested in facts. They're only interested in their own personal opinion, whether it's right or wrong. It doesn't matter how much irrefutable proof you can provide, no one's interested. They're only interested in what they want to believe. Again, and this goes on with what I was saying earlier, with the way that people will read something online and they'll just believe it straight off the bat without question. Without evidence, people will take a statement as, the God's honest truth. But as soon as you try to provide evidence and proof to the contrary, they don't want to know. They're not interested. So that one line, speaks volumes. Anyway, then it goes into that clean vocal chorus. Says, "Oh, how I miss your honesty. You never miss with your intensity. You're gonna need a new disguise. Vessels burst, veins release. Just slide into the nearest lie. All the ligatures are getting tight like a stile. Murder another mouth before the trial. Scalpel and then you scalp 'em to fucking death. Kills for the other vampires and surrogates. It's a ploy for attention and evidence. All your fucking monsters are flaws in your common sense. Do the dance while the shovels are breaking dirt. Everybody mind your fucking business or you get hurt." So again, there's another line there. Murder another mouth before the trial. Again, trying to silence the people that will, prove that you are wrong. Trying to silence the people that will actually let the truth be known. And again, this is a very common thing. There are certain political parties, someone speaks out against them and then magically that person disappears. They've no longer got a job, they get fired, they get cancelled, and they basically get not literally murdered, but they have their credibility ground into the ground. Ground into the ground? That was a terrible piece of grammar. But anyway, they have their credibility, just smashed into pieces just because this certain person doesn't want the truth to get out. So, murder another mouth before the trial, try and hush the truth before it comes out. So, yeah. And it carries on. We don't deny what is wrong with our lives. We can't decide what is left of our right to silence our remains. Buried in the back, and I'm sick and alive, hollow as a breath the further you dive. Now, throughout this song, there were actually other lines that were being sung, but were not actually included in these lyrics, and I couldn't quite pick out what they were, what was being said. Anyway. It once again goes into the chorus, but the chorus has slightly changed this time. It says, "Oh, how I missed your namaste. You never miss with your integrity. You're gonna need a new disguise. Vessels burst, veins release. Just slide into the nearest lie. Read all about it if you want to know. Everything is God online. Stoned like a beast on a chain, looking dead, feeling strange. What the fuck? I'm material to sew into the stains, like a catalogue of pain, like a martyr in restraints. I can kill with a will, and it's stronger every day. I'm a knife, I'm a gun, I'm a slit, I'm a scar. I'm a scream, I'm a death, I'm a threat. I'm afraid that what you will never understand, I'm not the same. You better call the 999 I want to face that you can only recognise. I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. And, you know, the phrase I'm afraid gets repeated quite a few times. And then it finishes with, when everything is God online, nothing is. Yeah, when everything is God online, when everything that you read is the truth, nothing becomes true. Because everything immediately becomes a lie. You know, what is true to one person becomes a lie to someone else. So essentially, everything that is supposedly the truth is misbelieved. You know, is misbelieved by someone or other. So then everything essentially becomes a lie. So yes, a pretty savage song. You know, not necessarily lyrically, but you know, the actual performance of the song was. It was way heavier and way harder than I was actually expecting. You know, like I said, it reminded me of really early Slipknot. Very interesting. Very, I don't want to say refreshing, but you know, considering, you know, from the first album, you know, you got the first album, you know, it does actually have a name, but it's all numbers and I can never remember what it is. Then you've got like the Iowa album, which was a fantastic album. And you got, was it All Hope Is Gone came next? Or was it the other one? The Sinister Verses. Because Sinister Verses wasn't actually a great album. It wasn't a particularly good album. Then, of course, you had The Grey Chapter, which was a fantastic album, in my opinion. I thought that was an absolutely outstanding album. And then you had We Are Not Your Kind. They've sort of... Their style has changed drastically from the first album to the most recent one. They seem... I won't say they got sort of softer, but, you know, the actual style of their music has become less intense, if that makes sense. Now, in a way, I can understand that. I mean, they're not getting any younger. I mean, most of the members of the band are probably pushing close to mid to late 40s, maybe 50s by now, and trying to keep up the energy that they had from like their early years, especially when you look at their stage shows. You know, the amount of insane energy that they used to have on stage, and they still do have quite a lot of energy now on stage. You know, but it doesn't surprise me that maybe the actual style and the intensity of their music is not as strong as it used to be. That's fair enough. You can kind of understand that because, you know, over the years it is going to take its toll on you. Because I believe Clown has like trouble with the joints and like his wrists and his elbows from where he's been hitting, you know, those metal kegs on stage with a baseball bat because there's no give and no bounce. It's really jarring, you know. So that's sort of taking its toll on him, that sort of thing. So, you know, for them to have sort of gone into, I don't want to say a softer style of music, but it is softer compared to what it used to be. And, you know, then for this track to come out and be this insane is quite a vitalizing breath of fresh air. So, because I can't remember which, I think it was the Sinister Verses, I think. That was more like Stone Sour than a Slipknot album. You know, they really tripped over on that one, I think. But again, you know, it was still a decent album. It's just by far their worst. And I think We Are Not Your Kind is a close second to that one for their worst album. But again, like I said, none of them were actually bad. I'm just waffling now, aren't I? I'm talking absolute bollocks. But I think you get what I'm saying here. You know, the way their music has been of late, and then they go and bring this track out, this fast, hard, heavy track. Brilliant. Very brilliant. Unexpected. Great bit of fun. It's a shame there wasn't an actual proper video to it as well. It was just that sort of flicking visualizer sort of thing. But, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on. I'm going to leave that as it is. Now, if anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so by all means. You can drop a comment in the comment section below or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you could even message me through Patreon, where you could help to support this channel, which would, of course, be a massive help to me, since every piece of content I create gets immediately demonetized the moment it touches the internet, which is quite frustrating, but, you know, it is what it is. I am using copyrighted material after all, and it's only fair that the bands get the recognition for the material that I'm using. The fact that they get all of it, now that's the bit that bugs me. But, it is what it is. There is an option in Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue if you should so desire. There is a limit on how frequently you can do that, and that's just to be fair to people who suggest through more regular means, such as Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram comments. If you do suggest through YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, do know it could take me a while to get around to your suggestions, since I do get suggested a lot of new tracks every single day, so my list grows faster than I can record the videos, but I do write down every suggestion I get. It just might take me a while to get around to it, I'm afraid. Also, MetalHead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose goal is to put an end to hate crimes. And one of the main facets of that is hate crimes against people of the alternative community. And it's something I believe in very strongly, and it's something that very frequently sort of gets brushed over. People just sort of ignore it and don't pay it any attention. And that's something that really needs to change, because it's a very real problem that's been going on for decades. And, we're not just talking about people shouting insults or, shoulder ramming someone from the alternative community as they're walking down the street. We're talking about brutal, violent crimes where people are getting hospitalised, sometimes with broken limbs and sometimes even more life-threatening injuries. And, every day we hear about all these other hate crimes like sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, religious hatred, ableism, etc. We hear about these on a daily basis, from the most heinous and violent of these crimes down to the most petty and pathetic and childish of these crimes. We hear these in every facet of the news on a daily basis. But as soon as it comes to someone from the alternative community getting violently and brutally assaulted, nothing ever gets said. The last time there was a widespread conversation about this sort of thing was 14 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Maltby were violently and brutally assaulted by a group of 5 or 6 people who beat them so severely, they stamped on their heads so violently that they both ended up in comas. Now, Rob Maltby, he thankfully survived the assault. He was in a coma for around about a week and a half, maybe a little bit longer. But Sophie Lancaster was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries and she died. This young woman was 20 years old and was beaten to death just because of her taste in music and clothing. Now, when this happened, this was all over the news, as rightfully it should have been, and over time the story faded into the background, as you'd expect it to. But in the 14 years since that happened, we've not heard a single story like it. Nothing has been said since. Yet there have been several hundred, if not several thousand, similar incidents in that time. The only major difference is that no one has died as a result. And that's the key feature there. That people won't speak about this unless someone dies. And that's unacceptable. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to lose their life before this gets spoken about. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to die before something gets done. And that's what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to bring more attention to the fact that this is happening. They want more people to talk about this. They want there to be more recognition of the fact that this is a very real problem and deserves as much attention as all of these other hate crimes that get spoken about on a daily basis. Because the more we ignore it, the more it's going to happen, because the people committing these crimes feel that they can get away with it because no one's going to pay any attention to it. And if we carry on ignoring it, it's only a matter of time before what happened to Sophie Lancaster happens again, and we cannot allow that to happen. They don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks because of the small-minded actions of a group of people who couldn't handle the fact that somebody liked something different to them, that not everybody likes the same thing. These violent crimes against people of the alternative community deserve as much attention and as much, they deserve to be spoken about just as much as any other hate crime. But at the moment, they're not getting spoken about, nothing's getting done, they're just getting ignored. And that needs to change. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there's a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their overall goal is, because they can explain it a heck of a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously you don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any small way, whether it be a small donation through their website or something as simple as like one of these Sophie wristbands, maybe even that one, you know, they've got a whole bunch of other really cool stuff going on over there. But, you know, the sooner we get more people talking about this, the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Stone like a beast on a chain, looking dead, feeling strange. What the